That's why they teach them, because they knew I'd go like suicidal.
What it does now, not got depression.
Suicide,
Nobody left alone.
Lock them up, lock them key, chains and all this, asylums, straight jackets. That's what a lot of people think like, isn't it? Because they're ignorant of the fact, they don't know anything about it, that's why. It frightens them because they can't see it. That's what it is, isn't it? It's fear, isn't it?
I don't think so. I think it's got worse.
You think it's got worse?
Worse. I think it's like the label of schizophrenia. Certain papers think you go around with big knives killing people.
The papers for years have always put mental health up as the most dangerous, psychotic, and it's not like that.
Yes, there is a big stigma. I mean, for example, I was on the bus the other day, and what was it? This guy got on. He was about 60 odd, and he got on with his mother, who had a leg in plaster. Anyway, he was shouting and shouting and shouting, and people on the bus at the very back, they were all laughing.
They must think I really got down, because I knew myself trying to explain that I thought, no one's going to believe me or understand me. It was a terrible feeling.
No one talks about it. They put disabled people on telly, but they never interview people with schizophrenia because they think, oh, there's a schizophrenia, what's he going to do? They don't interview people with mental health issues. It's always, you can see a disability of someone in a wheelchair, and I can understand the people. It's the name, it's a horrible name, it's got the Z in it. It's like schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. And when something happens on the news, caring community is not being looked at, someone goes through the net and goes and kills someone, all of a sudden, it happens every probably 6 months on the telly, every year maybe. It's the worst schizophrenia. And I wouldn't think of stabbing no one.
Because mental health and mental illness is worse than AIDS, basically. If you've got AIDS, that's fine. Got HIV, that's fine. Mentally ill, that's quite bad.
Well, after being diagnosed with depression, being sectioned, the bullying continued, because people around me didn't believe me that it was happening to me. I couldn't make anybody at all, even my wife, understand what I was going through. So I took an overdose.
Well, the children found out that I was anorexic and bulimic, and they found out through staff talking, and they started taking the mickey out of me and saying, oh, she's mad, Sarah's mad, she doesn't know, you can't talk to her because she's crazy, things like that.
Yeah.
And even now, if people say to me, oh, have you got anything wrong with you? I'll say, no, I haven't, because I don't want them to know.
Right. Do you feel that?
Because I feel intimidated by some people.
And my medication had to be at 3 o'clock, but I took it at 3:30 when I got home. The school weren't having that, so they used to call me over dinner come every day to come and get my medication, and they would say that, Michelle Campbell, can you come and get your medication, please? And that was just that. I had to leave that school.
Yeah,
it's
I
awful.
understand that, completely understand that.
And yet the girl that was pregnant in my year, she got bullied for about a week. It all calmed down, but me, it's horrendous. Absolutely horrendous.
Stigma, I suppose the first stigma I should address, the stigma I felt against myself.
Okay, yeah.
So like when I had my breakdown, everyone around me knew I'd had it. But everyone was sympathetic. But even though they were sympathetic, I still felt embarrassed. Like the breakdown's been really good in like helping me build a really good relationship with my parents, which I didn't have before, and now I have a really good one. And like when I was like at my worst and I needed people, they were there. And other family members just like to ignore it, like it's not there, or like, I don't know, or belittle it. It's just, it's that thing, loads of people say you can't, broke a leg, you see it, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and
well,
like you can't, that's what people say. But it's true. And so like they think, like, I don't know what, but the impression I get is that they think that either I'm making it up or I'm being soft or like, but they ignore it. And that really makes me really angry.
And I was with my granddad at the time, but he couldn't understand what I'm going through because he doesn't believe in the whole mental health thing.
Okay.
He's old-fashioned, is what some of these people call it.
I think it's better understood now because the MPs have actually started to admit that they're suffering with depression and mental issues themselves. And a lot of famous people are coming onto the telly and saying, we suffer, we know what we're going through.
Maybe, yeah, because it's like, I always say, whatever illness you get, like mental or physical, you don't know what it's like until you've got it yourself. It's like a lot of things, no one bothers about things until it happens to them. I mean, when you start getting cutbacks or things happen to you, you start worrying about that. But I can sort of, it's a strange one. I mean, like I say, some ways it's gone backwards for mental health, but at least I'm talking to you now. I mean, 50 years ago you wouldn't have had this, would you?
Well,
maybe not 40 years ago.
Now you've got to wait a year to see somebody for counselling, and then you're on a big long list, and I mean long, like the Magna Carta. And the other things are non-existent because they've been cut back, lack of money. You can't have this, you can't have that. Yet you paid for it when you worked. So we're getting back to where we were in the 60s when I was feeling rough. You had to either sit in the library or sit in the bus station or sit in the cafe till I asked you to leave if you weren't buying food. And that was your option. You didn't have any counselling. Well, not a lot of counselling, not a lot of help like you got nowadays. People were a bit, distance themselves from that sort of thing. I think now you've got to wait too long to see somebody. You've got to wait months to see a psychiatrist. Then they see you. Then you've got to wait months to hear from them again. I think you should be able to go straight into hospital like you used to years ago, get treated and come straight out. Not all this waiting and that because of cutbacks. I think it's too long to wait. The whole system takes too long. Don't you agree with that?
It is suffering mental health. It's harder to go into hospital now than what it was when I was younger. You took an overdose, you were automatically taken in. Now you take an overdose, you get taken to hospital, you get either the access of the crisis team and they decide whether you can see the psychiatrist, and 9 times out of 10 you don't get taken in, which is quite surprising. But they take in people that come in high off. I have no idea what these people are taking, but they were more scary to me in the men's ward than the men on the ward. It was really, these people were really frightened, throwing things and screaming and upset all the ward actually. These two men, they really upset us all.
I don't know why it's low, but someone told me like it's because you're vulnerable. They target the vulnerable people, but I feel with all these changes, it's going to maybe drive people more back into hospital.
I was about a month in the house before I actually was sectioned. My first husband used to go abroad a lot with his work, and I was left to bring up the children, I considered, because he was always going abroad. He was away, and I got my in-laws to come and stay to help me look after the children, and
I just stayed all the time in bed. Wouldn't eat.
So you
Well,
felt,
it went on
yeah.
for a month, and in the end, 2 of my GPs came out, and they said, you really need to go into hospital.
They came at a crisis point, especially Littlebrook, so they saved my life in a way. So that's not too strong a word for it, but when I was in the Bethlehem, I don't know, I had all psychotherapy and everything while I was there, and I think I did come out a bit better than I went in, but not significantly. Littlebrook, if you went out for the weekend, you weren't guaranteed your bed in the next week.
Right.
So there's discontinuity really. Whereas at the Bethlehem, you had your bed until you were ready to go.
I wasn't allowed out of bed on any account. I had to be nursed in my room. I wasn't allowed to see anyone, speak to anyone. I'd never been in hospital before, and I was on a psychiatric adult ward, and I was just so unhappy. And the staff, some of them were quite brutal.
Really?
They really were. Yeah, it was awful.
And little plastic, take this, calm me down. I'm in there, and I thought to them they were everything to me.
My mum and dad, they discharged me because I was too young to discharge myself, so I got my parents to discharge me from Joyce Green. And I was in this room. It was a massive room, and there were doctors, psychologists, various people like that, all in a row, in a ring, and I was in the middle, and I just could not stop crying, and the doctor was really being aggressive. And then they had my mum and dad in, and then the doctor, apparently the consultant, said to my mum and dad, Sarah will be back, and when she comes back you will not be able to discharge her.
There was a great big staircase that you had to go down for your meals, and they made you go down for breakfast. And well, it just wasn't. I mean, I went into Joyce Green quite a few times, and it wasn't a nice experience.
I must admit, when I was younger, you were taken to hospital, and I must admit the doctor forgot to put me in the hospital, but it was different then.
Yeah.
I can't explain it. The nurses are better now, but in them days it was more like you were treated as a patient, not like a normal hospital. It wasn't a mental institute. There was people in this ward that nobody wanted anymore, things like that. But they say it was a mental institute, Joyce Green, but it wasn't. It was just like a hospital ward.
Right.
Which is nice, a little book. You have got individual rooms, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Because I find that quite nice and that. So it was more like a hospital, Joyce Green. And because I had to go to school every day, they didn't let me get out of that one. They had a school on site. That was a nice place to stay in at the time, and I needed to go in there at the time. Because I just couldn't cope with my life at the time the way it was.
Joyce Green, you could walk off the ward, you could go outside, no problem. But with Littlebrook, if you want to go outside, if you're an inpatient, and you're not allowed out, so you can go into the gardens, the courtyards. But if you are allowed out, they have to take you through to reception to get you out, because the doors are all closed and locked.
So How do you feel about that?
Didn't like that at all. No. And I haven't been in hospital now for over a year, which I'm pleased about. Yeah. Thank goodness.
Having been in Littlebrook, but not for many years, only when it was probably first opened, I could see a great change in, in the hospitals. It was just totally different.
Well, I know what I miss as regards the mind, what they used to have, a volunteer or someone to listen to you, just for a short while maybe. If you rung up and think, well, I want to talk to somebody, could I go? Which they used to do one time.
When it was down Dartford, you know, the Holy Trinity Church and the YMCA round the back.
Yeah.
Every Thursday and Saturday and Tuesday we used to have a drop in now. You had all different. Cooking Saturdays, you have an hot meal, and it's changed.
So I'm a mine tenant, and my tenancy's for 2 years, so I'm halfway through it now. But you know, obviously I've got a year left, so I have to kind of start thinking about what is my exit strategy. But there are other mine tenants who are long term, and that's a reflection a little bit of how mine has changed its tone, of how it works. Like with me, I have a support worker, but I mean the way she would work with me would be very different with how she'd work with a different person. So it's very specific to our needs, and we have like care plan and all of that stuff. And yeah, it's just and it's really nice because it's the tone of it isn't like, okay, oh, you're ill now, like, so we just look after you now. It's just like, well, here's some space, just sort yourself out, and here's some help as well,
I just wish I'd known about it sooner, really, because the only way I knew about it was one of my care workers suggested we come up here and see what was on offer. And but that's in the last year, I think. I mean, I don't know how long Mind has been going, but if it had been there when I was first ill, it may not have got worse.
If you're going to the doctors, that you would have thought that with a doctor that they would have known more about depression and mental health ways. Whereas not all of them do.
So then I had another attempt on the 23rd of January because I just feel as though I'm a nuisance. I go and ask for help and I don't get it.
My doctor got in touch with mine and I've been with them ever since.
Drugs are like a cane, they help you to a point, but they have side effects. They make you dribble, drowsy, put on weight. Not always the best thing. They're like a stick to help you get through the worst of it. Then the rest of it's up to yourself, isn't it? Integration. Isolation's no good. You lock yourself away, everything shrinks. You lock yourself in your room, pull the curtains, the room shrinks on you till you're in a little square like that. And then you can even become claustrophobic, what do you call it? Agoraphobic. You can't go out. I know a lot of people have done that. Through locking themselves away and hiding away, instead of going out and facing it, the glaring reality, and getting used to it, hiding away doesn't cure it, You've got to face it head on, I think, and give it your best shot.
I wouldn't have chosen medication, and again, it was another forced at the beginning, but now, I still take them, So, and I suppose so that's a choice. And it does I'm gutted to be on medication, but it does help me. And I just hope, as I get better at my lifestyle routines that I'm trying to do, that hopefully I can kind of get off the meds.
Yeah.
I can have a rest if I want to. I can do breathing if I want to. I don't have to do anything if I don't want to, but I want to help myself. And then usually what I've done is I've written a few notelets, sticky pad thing, with helpful comments, and I've stuck them onto an inside of a kitchen cupboard. Things like, there's no one in the house if the dog isn't barking, that kind of thing, to challenge my thoughts.
The breakdown's been really good in helping me build a really good relationship with my parents, which I didn't have before, and now I have a really good one. And when I was at my worst and I needed people, they were there.
But I feel I'm living in a community and I'm well now, and
anything else that you wish to say?
Yeah, just one thing. If mind more, please.
Right, that's going on the